طيب بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله، وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. Alhamdulillah, we have Dr. Raymond Brock Murray on here with us, inshallah ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, we're blessed to have you and your presence here with us, inshallah ta'ala, to deal with this very important topic, inshallah ta'ala, today. And we're dealing with the issue of dealing with stress during times of quarantine, inshallah ta'ala. So, Dr. Brock, inshallah ta'ala, let's just kind of jump right into it, inshallah ta'ala. All right. There's a lot of claims out there that during this crisis that we're having right now with COVID-19 and being quarantined at home for such a long time now, we're going on close to a month. Some of us being quarantined apart, depending on what part of the country you're in. There's a lot of talk about domestic violence going on. And we know that, you're at home 24 hours a day now, wife, husband, children, maybe both of the spouses are working from home. The children are doing homeschooling. Everybody's looking for a space, right? Not everybody has a big home. Everybody's looking for a space.
Yep.
And all of these can possibly be contributors to that, inshallah ta'ala. Can you talk a little bit to that, inshallah ta'ala, as well as what may be some key indicators in terms of that, inshallah ta'ala, and give us some advice regarding that?
Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على نبينا وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. جزاكم الله خيرا for having me on. Alhamdulillah, I appreciate it. So I think that one thing for us to start with when we talk about the issue of domestic violence in the home is for the most part, we're going to be talking about homes where there were issues in the first place. Somebody doesn't wake up one day, they're overwhelmed with stress because of the quarantine, and then become someone who hits their partners or hits their children or any of those kinds of things. There's all kinds of underlying issues that probably existed well before the incident that we're talking about during the quarantine. Right? And so I wanted to start there because I want to say to people that being in this quarantine is more of a reason to try to get your family healthy and to get the help that you need, because now you have nothing but time and opportunity for two things to happen, either for things to get better or things to get worse. Right? And so either we're going to spend this time in the house with each other and we're going to work really hard while we're in here to make the time count to become a healthier, better, well-functioning family, or we're going to allow ourselves to continue to fall into the same problems that we were falling into before, but just faster and more severe because we're dealing with our own individual frustrations from being in the house. And then we have so much more contact time with the people who we have a lot of these conflicts with. We're going to have so much more opportunity to get into conflicts that we never would have fallen into if we were outside of the house working 40 hours a week and our kids were going to school. So the first among those things that I would encourage people to pay attention to is, did we have issues going into the quarantine in the first place? Right? Were we a family that might have had problems? Either the person was actively abusing or we were on the verge of some sort of family fallout. Did we have an ongoing problem that was existing that either we weren't really trying to fix, that we weren't really necessarily talking about, or that we were sweeping under the rug, or that we were all just trying to live with and tolerate? We all knew what was going on. We all knew that it was wrong, but it was just, there's so much pain and suffering that goes into trying to change it that we all kind of colluded with each other as a family to just live with it and tolerate it. Right? And so this is one of the first things. The second thing that I want to encourage people to pay attention to as they add, it's kind of domestic violence related, but also not. How are we feeling internally in our house, and what is the mechanism within our families to work that out with each other? What I'm finding from a lot of people that I'm talking to is that they're not talking to each other. right? They're in the house with each other. I feel frustrated. My wife feels frustrated. Our children feel frustrated, and we're just kind of like pinballs bouncing off of each other, expecting things to go well and to work out well, and we're not communicating with each other to actually formulate a strategy. We're a family of people who are related to each other, but we're not working together as a team. And so this is the second thing that I would encourage people to start to pay attention to. Are we all in the house together, but are we not really talking? Or do we not have a game plan as a family? Right? One thing I've been encouraging people to do as families, sit down with each other and say, hey, listen, we're going to be in this house for a long time, right? We know we're going to get angry with each other. We know we're going to get frustrated. We know we're going to have bad days with each other. What can we do now? What can we commit to now in terms of working to cooperate with each other better, right? Babe, you know I'm going to get frustrated seeing you every day. I know you're going to get frustrated seeing me every day because you're just going to want your space. Or I'm going to want to go out and you're not going to want me to go out. Or whatever, right? We're going to have so much more opportunity for run-ins. Here's my commitment to you. I promise to you that my bad habit is when I'm angry, I hold it inside. And I don't want to tell anybody. And I'm going to walk around with an attitude, with a nasty face, and I'm banging things, and I'm slamming things, I'm not talking to anybody. But instead of doing that, because I know we're walking into a situation where that's almost, we're almost guaranteed that it's going to happen, that let's be proactive with each other. When I'm feeling frustrated, instead of doing what I normally do, holding it inside, pretending nothing's wrong until I blow up, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tell you what it is while it's small. And can you commit to either not having a really bad reaction to what I'm doing or what I'm saying to you? Or can you commit to at least hearing me out even if we don't agree, and then working on trying to change or help me solve whatever the situation is that I'm in, right? Usually what happens is, as it relates to domestic violence, is it's like a cycle, right? There's an incident that causes the person to overreact with anger. The overreaction with the anger is not the beginning. The incident that causes the overreaction with the anger is the beginning of it. And so, as families, how do we start to pay attention to what those things usually are? Does my spouse usually get a phone call from their children who live with the other spouse because this person had a marriage before me? Do they get a phone call from a mother or a father who might be particularly emotionally abusive? Right? Are they coming home from a job that they have to work, that they're angry that they have to work at, and they're getting mistreated, and then they come home and they're angry, and I know that they're going to be coming into this situation, right? So let's pay attention to what are some of the precipitating events. They're not always ones that to us, there is no justifiable reason to be abusing your spouse. But there are some situations that we find ourselves in where we say to ourselves, okay, it makes sense that someone will blow up over. Not every domestic violence issue is something that makes sense that someone will blow up over. Sometimes it's something so stupid as you turned the channel or you walked in front of the TV too many times, or any of these like little things, right? That the average person should not blow up over, but the person who has problems controlling their anger and controlling their violence, they're going to have problems with those things, right? And they're going to blow up. And so let's start to pay attention to what those critical incidents are in the first place as a family. Right? And then how do we start to minimize those? Right? Like, let's sit down with each other and say, look, how are we going to deal with these things that tend to send us over the edge, either you as an individual or us as a family? Right? And then we're going to try to minimize those things. Right? You need to be more patient with me being around the house, doing whatever, if I'm cleaning and you're watching TV, understand that we're in this house all the time. We're going to dirty the house. I need to clean more. You're going to be trying to watch TV or have your own time or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You can't be getting frustrated with me. You know what I mean? And if you do, here's what the consequences are going to be. Or here's what we're going to do as a family, right? And then stick to it. Right? If we see any of these kinds of things going in the wrong way, here's what our solutions are going to be as a family. Sometimes it could be, I'm going to leave. Right, I'm going to go stay with my family, or I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get out of this situation with you, or you're going to leave. Right? right? I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get you out of this situation with us, right? Either all of the healthy people leave or the person who's unhealthy has to go,
mm, mm, mm.
right? And so that's kind of like step two, right? Step one is as a family trying to game plan that we're going to be in this house together. But then step two, what are the critical incidents that tend to lead us into falling into domestic violence or disputes that eventually end in domestic violence? And then saying, okay, how are we going to address them ahead of time? And what is the consequence going to be for us not addressing them? And not addressing them means us falling into arguing and then falling eventually into an abusive situation, right? Arguing is not always bad, but abusing each other, of course, is
Yes.
bad for the family.
Mm,
Um, so these are some of the signs. The person comes home and they're angry and they're frustrated, or they're not talking at all, or they're being really, really distant, and they seem to be not just like sad and distant, but like irritated and distant. And this is a person who you know is usually a threat to you. Again, people don't become abusers overnight, right?
no.
You're probably coming into a situation where a person has been historically abusive. And so now you have to pay attention to some of the signs that they're coming into the situation with, right? Um, and then saying to yourself, what's going to be my game plan? Even if this person doesn't want to work with you, right? If you don't want to cooperate with us as a family to reduce your aggravation in the house, the way you're treating people, either verbally or physically or emotionally abusive, and these are the consequences of it. So then the question then becomes for the person who is receiving the abuse, what am I going to do about being in this situation? How am I going to get myself out of this situation then?
No.
Right? Am I making sense here?
You are. You
Right. I'm
are.
trying to put a
You
lot of
are.
bases. I'm trying to make sure
I have a question though. Let's say now if it hasn't gotten to any physical abuse or whatever have you, but part of trying to now solve the issue where they get to that point where okay, this isn't working out between us. Like we're not becoming solution orientated, and one of us got to go. But because we're in quarantine and we can't go anywhere, I can't go to my mother's house. I can't because she's too old, or I can't go over there because my grandmother's there and they're immune deficient or whatever have you, and I just can't get up and leave now because of the situation we are in. You know, is like kind of going into the bedroom and kind of you lock yourself in the bedroom or you stay there, we stay out in this part of the house. I don't know, War of the Roses type thing. You split the house in half. You know, I'm not sure.
that might be your first step,
Okay.
right? Because then you have to pick between your health with the virus and your physical health with the person who's abusing you, or your mental health with the person who's abusing you, right?
Absolutely.
Because in an emergency, I would say even to go to stay with a friend, right? I know that the government has advised us to stay with our family members and the people we're in close relationships with. But if I'm in a house and I can't go to my mother's house because she's not well or she's at risk for some sort of severe reaction to the coronavirus, then I can't just decide to stay home,
Okay.
right? I need to go somewhere,
No.
right, to protect me or to protect my family, because who knows how long we're going to be in this house with each other, and who
Absolutely.
knows how much it's going to start to escalate,
No.
right? And so after that, I would really encourage people. This is, again, I said that this is a time now either to let things get worse or to work really hard at things getting better. And so what I haven't mentioned that I mentioned is this is the time now to be reaching out to therapists.
Mm, mm,
We're in this house together. We have almost nothing but time. Even the healthiest of family members are going to have conflicts with each other. Let's call that therapist that we've been meaning to call. We're in the house with each other now because before we couldn't go to couples counseling because of your work schedule. Or I couldn't get you to commit to talking to the counselor because you were so busy and all of these kinds of things. And so now you really don't have any of those excuses except for the reality of I don't want to do it.
mm, mm.
Right? And so in addition to all of those things that I've been saying so far for people to do, don't forget to reach out to a therapist. Don't forget to reach out to an imam who you know is going to be fair between you two, right? Not just the imam that's always going to side with the man.
Yeah.
Reach out to your family members who you know are going to be fair between you two. Not just your family member who's going to side with you as the wife or you as the husband, or always siding with the children. I've been dealing a lot with the family where there's a brother and all his family is doing is undermining him with his child.
Subhanallah.
He's really trying to help his child grow into being a young adult man and responsible. mature young man, and at every turn, his family is doing everything that they can to make sure that he never takes on an ounce of responsibility, that he never takes the consequences of any of his poor decisions, and that he never has to accept the responsibility that his father is trying to put on him to, make a path for himself in the future, just to become, a proper man. And these are the opportunities now to try to get your family members into counseling. Get your family members on the phone with somebody, on Skype with somebody, on Zoom with somebody. Whatever it is that we need to do. You see that there's like a proliferation of Muslim mental health professionals offering services because we know two things, right? Number one, people are going to be stressed out in the house, but then number two, there's so many people who have been needing help who haven't sought out help, that this is the opportunity right now to try to reach them because they're in a situation where they might be more inclined to asking or receiving help when it's offered to them. And so we can't overlook that, right? You don't have to reach out to a therapist, but reach out to somebody who's going to help you and be fair about it.
Yeah, but also just I guess to clarify as well, or maybe you can clarify for us as well. And I'm just looking at it from an imam's perspective. That I just want to make sure that we understand as well that imams are not necessarily trained in this type of conflict resolution, right?
Yeah,
We didn't go to school for that type of stuff. We don't know that. So sometimes the imam may not be your best option. Your best option may be a therapist.
yes, correct, but it might be a start because
Okay.
it's not always that one person wants to see a therapist and the other person doesn't. It might be that both of them don't want to see a therapist.
Okay.
It might be that the imam is the person that both of them feel comfortable seeing. And of course, alhamdulillah, I'm glad that there's both of us on this chat because you're going to think of things that I can't say at all, right? And but then that means that the A'imma, and we've been trying very hard to get the A'imma. Now, I for myself have found that the A'imma very open, yourself included. Um, Perhaps like foremost among them, you and Khalid Latif, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
Um, I would say that this is one of the responsibility of the Imam to say, listen, I really think that you need a higher level of care and intervention and help and support with your situation. I'll let you start with me, but only if you agree that after we talk maybe once or twice, generous, maybe even three times, that you're going to move on to an actual therapist, or to say, and I've done this a couple of times. You'll find this as therapists. We do this with people who come in with eating disorders. I'll only see you in therapy if you're also going to see a nutritionist. I'm only going to see you in therapy if you're going to see your primary care doctor, right? Like you need to be doing all of those things and give me permission to talk to them so I can confirm that you're meeting with them and you're complying with what they're requiring of you, and then I'll help you. Because if you're coming to therapy and you're not really committed to your physical health outside of the emotional and psychological part of the treatment, then we're only you're kind of putting out not just a house fire but a block fire with one fire truck, right? And it's just not going to be sufficient.
Yeah.
Right, and so it's not the best way to try to address an issue. And I think that for the A'imma to say, I can be a good start, and many of them have said this, I can be a good start, but then I'm going to need you. I'm only going to see you if you're going to see a therapist too.
No.
Right, and we have that kind of leverage. We've been doing this for a long time, but the A'imma is saying, I'll only marry you to each other if you do couples counseling.
No.
And people have been complying. People, this just as well as I do.
Yeah.
Really, really invested in premarital counseling, even postmarital counseling. Imam Dawood at NIA, he makes people do postmarital counseling.
Mashallah.
Because when you get married to each other, all kinds of stuff you discover with each other afterwards, right? And so we need to try this kind of approach too, as it relates to like domestic violence and other kinds of issues, right? Now, I think that a person who has anger, I had someone reach out to me the other day who's having a lot of anger issues and having a lot of domestic violence issues, not necessarily, with their spouse, but with other family members, right? Which is still domestic violence. And this person said, I need help, right? I'm realizing that I need help and I need to reach out. And there's nothing wrong with you trying to be proactive for your own self, to change yourself. I try to tell people all the time, the sunnah is to correct yourself. correcting yourself with the sunnah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't make a mistake except that he corrected it.
No doubt.
Right? And that was with the people, and first and foremost, of course, that was with Allah. Whenever Allah admonished the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, either through revelation of the Quran or sending the angel Jibril alayhi salam to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he corrected it. Whenever anyone justifiably said to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that they were hurt or upset by something that he did, he would correct it.
No.
And so we have to understand that this is an opportunity for us now to try to work as hard as we can on the things that we haven't been able to work on within ourselves. I've been trying to tell people to organize your time in the house so that you can work on projects that you haven't been able to work on. You've been meaning to write that book or finish that blog or whatever project it is, or replace the sink or whatever it is that you've been meaning to do in your house. This is also an opportunity for us to really do some good soul work as well, even myself included, to really do some work within our own selves, because we're not going to get this time.
No.
We're not going to get this time again. And what do we? This is like Ramadan passing, and we didn't work on ourselves.
Sorry.
Right? We're in our houses all of this time, and so we have so much opportunity to work at bettering ourselves instead of staring at the TV or playing PlayStation or gossiping on the phone with our girlfriends or any of those kinds of things, right? And so we use our time wisely. And as it relates to anybody who's having any other issues, even apart from domestic violence, now's the time.
No.
Right? Now is going to be one of the best times that you can get.
No. MashaAllah.
I don't know if you have any other questions.
Yes, I do.
Related to domestic
I do. I do. I have.
Can I?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to make a point, because I mentioned that domestic violence occurs in a cycle, and so I want to point out that cycle for people, just in case you're not sure if you're in an abusive situation. Because sometimes we talk about domestic violence as being physical violence, but then emotional abuse is real, right? Psychological abuse is real. Financial abuse is real. I've met a lot of people who are the breadwinners in their families, and the minute that their spouses don't do something that they want from them, or does something that displeases them, you find them being financially abused. I'm not going to give you money anymore to take care of yourself. I'm not going to give you money anymore to take care of the children. I'm not going to give you money anymore to pay the bills or any of these other kinds of things, to pay our debts or your debts, or you're on your own for your school tuition. You wanted to go back to school, and I promised I would pay, and I'm going to put you in the worst possible financial position until you begin to do exactly what it is that I want to do, in the worst of manipulative ways.
SubhanAllah.
If your spouse is running around smoking weed and hanging out in the bar, and you're paying their tuition and they're failing out of classes, of course you're going to say, I'm not going to continue to pay. That's not abuse.
No.
That's not abuse, right? But if your spouse spent a little too much money at Costco because the people are tripping, and I had to get more water than I usually get because we're going to run out if we don't get more.
No.
Don't not pay the kids' tuition.
No.
You know what I mean? Like these kinds of things. Don't not pay your spouse's tuition. Don't stop paying for their clothing or their housing or whatever it is. Those things are very abusive. And so I was trying to start with the incident, right? There's number one is the incident that triggers the argument that eventually rolls over into an abusive situation. There's the incident that creates the abusive situation. There's the abusive event itself where the person does something that's abusive. And then after that is the period where the person tries to make up to you. They try to, not resolving the situation, right? This is not a resolution. This isn't a person saying I was wrong and let me make a commitment to you and be sincere about it and let me get help and talk to my family and talk to the imam or find a therapist. This is none of those things. This is, I came home because I had a rough day at work. You told me that you were going to have dinner ready by a certain time and it wasn't ready. Or you told me you're going to be home by a certain time and you weren't home and you weren't answering your phone. I don't know where you were. I'm going to accuse you of cheating. I'm going to beat you up. And then the next morning, I'm going to come to you and say, baby, I'm sorry. I was stressed out at work. Here's some flowers or here's some money. And this is the 1,000th time I've said I'm never going to do it again. You're trying to be patient with me, or you feel like you have nowhere else to go, or no one else is going to take care of you, or if you divorce me, no one else is going to marry you, or what are you going to do with all of these kids? You don't have a job or education or money, and so you got to stay in this terrible situation. And so I do this nice gesture for you, and you accept it because you feel compelled to, and then a month from now, a week from now, 3 weeks from now, a year from now, I'm going to start the cycle all over again with you. This is how you know you're in an abusive situation.
And also, it would sex be part of that trying to make up? Just
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Come on, girl. I know all you need is, a little bit of something,
A little bit of loving.
Yeah. I know that's why you tripping, girl. No, she's tripping because you were choking her last night, right? Like that's probably why. And so, I want to say this because sometimes people, it's hard to admit when you're in these kinds of situations. You want to, not because you're trying to give the person an excuse, but you're in denial about how you have fallen into it. I can't accept that I have fallen into something because you're putting all the onus of the responsibility on you. What kinds of poor decisions did I make to lead me to be in a relationship with this person, as opposed to what's wrong with this person that I'm in this terrible situation?
No. In terms, and you gave us financial, and you gave us physical. Of course, we know he's putting his hands on. Can you give us an example of mental as well?
Well, the emotional abuse piece is this, right? And I'll give a piece of advice to anyone who's looking to marry or looking for even good friends. Be closest to the people that can take care of your feelings that are sensitive. Be closest to the people who can take care of your feelings that are delicate, that are private, that are your insecurities, right? If a person takes advantage of your insecurities, you might be in a relationship with someone who is at the minimum taking advantage of you emotionally, right? Or a person who's not necessarily emotionally abusive, but doesn't respect you enough to take care of your feelings, and they're manipulating you according to the feelings that you're presenting to them. Right? For instance, if someone comes to me, if I'm in a relationship with someone, and they talk to me about, I have a parent who's on drugs, and it's I've always wanted a better relationship with them, and I love them with all my heart, and I wish they could do better and be better because I would love for nothing more to be connected to my mother or my father. And then when we get into an argument, the first thing I say to you is, "Well, where you going to go? You know what I mean? You gonna go to your junkie mother? You gonna go to your junkie father? You can't go nowhere. You stuck here with me. I'm the best thing you got going. Those kinds of things that now I'm taking something that's very sensitive for you and very, very painful for you, and I'm turning it around and twisting it to my advantage to try to harm you or try to hurt you, right? The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he talked to us. He left us advice as men, but as women as well, because women aren't the only ones who are guilty of this thing that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam found blameworthy. But he says, be wary of marrying the woman who you do so much for her, and then the minute you do something wrong, she says that she's never known any good from you.
No.
Right?
No.
And so when you find yourself in that, I can tell you that has to be one of the most emotionally painful things that you can experience in a relationship. We've all been through that, where we've done a lot for someone who we really care about and love, and then they treat us like dirt. And then they deny any of the good that we've ever done, not that we wanted credit for it, but so that they can make us feel like the lowest of the low. These are examples of a person who is at minimum has no regard for your feelings whatsoever.
No.
Then second after that would be a person who is trying to manipulate you. And then third is the person who is intentionally abusing you. I'm not necessarily trying to manipulate you. I just want to hurt you. I'm not trying to influence you to make a decision or act one way or another. I just want to hurt you. Right? And it's so important for us to come to terms with what we see in front of us in terms of the partner that we're with. Because either that partner is going to really commit to change, or we might need to get out of that relationship, right? And again, this time now is the time to start taking stock of your relationships in addition to taking stock of yourself, but then also encouraging your spouse, let's work now, right? I talked to a couple the other day, and we started couples counseling, and in between our times talking with each other, one of the things that occurred to me was they only talk when we talk,
Okay.
right? Meaning when we're together talking, that's the only time they're
This.
trying to resolve things or work things out or trying to be honest with each other or talking to each other or sharing feelings.
Mm.
Because then when I talk to them again, so how did things go? Did you guys talk to each other? What were your conversations like? Were you able to talk without fighting? No, we didn't do any of that. We were just around each other.
It's a,
And look, that's 7 days that you didn't take advantage of.
mm,
Right?
mm,
Alhamdulillah, it's good that you didn't fall into fighting with each other. Maybe you were trying very hard. At least let's just not fight. But that's also 7 days that, on top of that, you could have benefited from saying, I tell people all the time in counseling, you can talk about what we talk about in counseling, just don't fight about what we talk about in counseling. And what I mean by that is this: on the car ride home, don't say, I can't believe you said such and such, and how dare you, and da, 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 da. And as opposed to saying to the person, I was really surprised to hear you say such and such a thing that you were feeling or thinking.
mm,
I had no idea that this was what, this action was, this thing you were doing was all about, or, you know what I mean? Like, talk about it with each other. And
mm,
they hadn't done any of that, right? And again, that's us not making the most of the time that we have with each other, right? This is the difference between I'm home all day and I prayed all of my salawat and I didn't sin, which is good, alhamdulillah. But when you weren't praying and when you weren't sinning, what else did you do that was beneficial and meaningful for yourself,
mm, mm.
right? You know what I mean?
No. I got a scenario for you. There was a case. It's not a case that has gone in front of a therapist as of this point, but it was presented to me by someone. It's a young girl, married. When I mean young, still in the 20s, married, inshallah ta'ala. And she has expressed that she's going through a relationship that is emotionally abusive.
Hmm.
And she's discovered that her husband may be possibly even cheating on her. But culturally, because of her background and her makeup, when she tries to leave the house so that she can go back to the parents' home, the parents basically tell her, you need to go back to your husband and work it out. And then, or when she leaves and she tries to push a little bit, then the husband does to try to make up the makeup situation. Number 3, I love you, I miss you, come back, let's sit down, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? In this type of a scenario, what do you advise those parents, especially with these young, they're kids still, you know what I mean? They're 20s and they just basically got out on their own. They don't really know
Yeah.
and she's going through this abusive situation. And even in this case, supposedly, even when she plays videos or audio tapes for the parents to look, this is what I'm going through, is like,
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try to be generous to the parents,
inshallah.
right? They're just as lost as anybody else. They don't know what to do because in their culture, you don't do anything, right? So even when it becomes clear that we need to do something, we have no cultural model for what to do. Let's be generous to them,
No.
right? We have no cultural model for what to do. And I'm saying cultural model because many of us, and it's a shame, we don't turn to the sunnah.
Sorry.
We don't say, well, I don't find any cultural examples as solutions or resolution for my situation, so let me turn to the sunnah. We generally don't find people doing that. What we generally find is, well, let's just do nothing. I'm not going to do anything. You don't do anything. What can we do? Right? It's easier to tell her to go back to him so we don't have to deal with it. And we sleep at night, and I look at my wife looks at me, and then we're like, if you don't want to deal with it and I don't want to deal with it, we might feel a little guilty about it, but at least we get to avoid it, and we want to avoid it more than we need to address our guilt about it, right? Or we just don't feel guilty. May Allah protect us from that.
I mean,
but we'll try to be generous to the parents as opposed to always bashing people because we don't always know that it's coming from the worst of places.
Sahih.
Sometimes people just don't know what to do. I talked to a family once. They were translating for their mother. I won't say the language, but there was no word for molestation in their
Mm.
language. They were looking back and forth, and I could tell, and I was like, well, what's going on? Like, how are y'all? You look like y'all having trouble. And they were like, yeah, we're trying to translate that word, and we don't know what it is. I'm like, dang, culturally, there's
SubhanAllah.
not even a word in their language
Wow.
for molestation,
Wow.
right? And so again, this is back to that. Let's try to be as generous as possible, right? So, what I would encourage that the parents to do when someone when a Abu Sumaya, if someone were to marry Sumaya tomorrow, right? That man becomes what to you?
My son-in-law.
Yes, he becomes your son,
Mm-hmm.
right? So parent them,
Mm. Mm.
right? Parent them. You don't have to, because a lot of people don't want to get involved because they feel like getting involved means making them separate from each other,
No.
right? If you're scared to get involved because in your culture it's haram to get divorced in your culture, help them stay together. Parent them.
MashaAllah.
In your culture, there is a cultural reference to parenting, even if there's not a cultural reference for getting involved in domestic violence.
Sahih. Sahih.
There's a cultural reference for parenting, right? And to say, how do I treat this man like he's my son,
No.
right? And let's all sit down because that man's not going to want to hear from you all if he knows you're coming over to take his wife from him.
No.
So don't go over there like that. Go over there and say, listen, we want to help y'all. We wanted you to be married. You wanted to be married to each other. I'm sure you didn't get married so you can fight up and down. You got married because you wanted to be happy with each other, enjoy each other, all of those things. Let us help y'all do that.
No.
Let's get involved and we can support you guys. We can help you grow and mature. And all. What's going on? What's the stressor between you two? What's the stressor for you that you're coming home and you're abusive to our daughter? What's going on with you? How can we help you with whatever you're going through right now? Right? Now, it's incumbent on the brother in the situation to accept that help.
Sahih.
Right? Because if you push the parents into a position where they can't help,
Yeah,
then
daughter.
divorce becomes the option.
No.
I got to take her out. I'm trying to make it where y'all can be okay with each other.
Sahih. Sahih.
If you're not going to help us do that, we want to help you keep your wife. I want you to stay married to my daughter, but I want y'all to be happy and getting along with each other.
No.
If you can't do that, then
take out.
we're gonna have to get out of here.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? And you know, put me on mute for this part. We might have to roll you out to roll her out of here.
No. Unfortunately. And two rak'ah afterwards. 2 rak'ah toba afterwards. Alhamdulillah. SubhanAllah. With that though, what advice do you give to now the young girl? She's finding a person who's sensitive. She has a person who's sensitive to her emotions, right? So she has a friend who's sensitive to her emotions, who she can kind of talk to.
A male friend?
No, a female friend. So she would still be talking to somebody of the same gender, inshallah ta'ala, who's sensitive to her emotions, meaning she's willing to give her an ear, willing to listen to her, willing to advise her in this type of situation. But maybe the friend at times also gets frustrated because she sees that there's no progress, and nothing being solved within this. We know from the parent side, from her side, from the husband side, inshallah ta'ala. What do you advise that friend? Because sometimes some friends will say, you know what, I'm gonna wash my hands and I'm out. Other friends, they get involved, too deep involved, and then their feelings get hurt when the person goes back. You know what I mean? Because they're like going through the emotional trauma with their friend.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I'll finish my point about the parents, right? The parents need to connect with someone who has a cultural reference for how to get involved.
Okay.
Right? We say this all the time. You accepted Islam, I accepted Islam. That means we lived in Jahiliyyah.
No.
For the parents who have children who are born in this country, living in this country, getting in trouble with the fitna of this country, but who came from countries that this wasn't their culture. They don't even know how do I keep my kids off of quiche. I don't even know what quiche is. Then you need to connect with me. You need to connect with Abu Sumayya. We know what that stuff is. We know what's going on in the street. We know what's going on in the world. If, as parents, you don't know what to do, come to people who know what to do.
No. No.
Right? Allah, He says this in the Quran.
No.
Right? Refer it back to Allah and the people of authority.
No.
Right? And so this is, again, but this is Islamic advice. This is why it's so important for us to take our Islamic advice. We probably pray right next to the people from these cultures.
Yep.
We right here. Ray, you came to Islam. How do I get my son to stop drinking?
No.
You obviously had to stop drinking before you came to Islam. What do I do? Right? But we don't take advantage of each other like that.
That's right.
Right? We don't take it. That's what we're all here for. Look at the diversity that Allah created in Islam. So many of us have so many different experiences. I came from Jahiliyyah, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but I came from Jahiliyyah. I have no idea what it's like to abstain from zina when I was 17.
No.
But you know who does? Somebody who was born in Islam.
Mm.
And when he was 17, had to stay away from it.
Mm.
So when I have to parent my son, that's who I need to be talking to. It's not just the converts who have all of the life experience.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Right?
Yeah. It make it seem sometimes like we do, right?
Yeah.
Allah.
I have no idea how I'm going to tell my son not to smoke. How I'm going to tell my daughter not to smoke. I used to smoke.
No.
You know what I mean? Hey, but I know what else is going on. I know I can talk to him and tell him, but I don't know what I know what it means to smoke and then choose to stop.
No.
You know what I mean? I don't know what it means to never start. Right? But I know who knows.
Yep.
Right? Abdul Rahman, who I'm listening about you.
No.
And so this is it for the parents. Now, as far as the young sister who is the support, to understand what's my role here, right? And can I accept my role? Because at the end of my comment, the end of it is going to be, can I accept that role? And you don't have to accept that role.
Mm.
Is my role to help my friend get out of her marriage? Probably not. 9 times out of 10, you know this.
No.
9 times out of 10, your role isn't to help her get out. Your role is usually to be a shoulder to cry on until she's ready to leave.
Mm.
A lot of women have said to me in therapy, a lot of men have said to me in therapy, I feel like I'm never going to get out of this relationship. And what I say back to them is, that feeling is real right now, right? But if you're going to leave this relationship, you're going to wake up one day and be ready.
Mm.
Right? It feels impossible now because you're not ready.
No.
Right? And so as long as you're not ready, I'm going to try to help you stay in it and try to fix it and make it better. But one day you might wake up and say to me, Ray, I'm ready to leave. And I don't need you to help me stay in it and fix it. I need you to help me leave.
MashaAllah.
Right? I need you to support me. I'm not going to call your wife or call your husband like, oh, he wants me to help him leave, so like I'm calling you to let you know that he's not coming home. But like the heavy lifting of, how do I come to terms with it myself? How do I come to terms with, I want to leave, but I'm scared to leave. I'm not ready. I love this person. I'm holding on to him even though I know I shouldn't. And I'm here for you, right? And I'm listening to you. And I know I talk about the same thing every week. Yes, you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to listen to you until you're ready to talk about something else.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah.
Right? Right? And until our conversation progresses. Now, this doesn't mean, and this is back to that role, is my role here to listen to you. And then eventually say to you, I've been listening to you for a long time. You've been complaining about this for a long time, but you haven't done anything about this.
Mm.
What's stopping you from doing anything? And I'm not saying you need to leave. I'm not saying you haven't done anything as if you need to leave.
No.
I'm saying to you, listen, you complain a lot about this relationship. You complain a lot about being sick and tired and angry and all of these things, but do you realize that's all you do? How come? I'm not, and you see, and none of that is me saying what you need to do.
No.
But I am curious with you, you know, how come you're stuck here?
Mm.
Let's talk about that.
Mm.
Right? As a friend. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. Alhamdulillah. I get it.
No.
Right? And to say to your friend, don't get me mixed up in this and then turn your back on me later, which is what a lot of people do.
No.
I'm gonna cry on your shoulder, I'm gonna complain about my husband, I'm gonna complain about my wife, you're gonna badmouth them, you're gonna do all these things you think a supportive friend should do. And then I'm going to turn around and then I'm going to go back to this person. I'm going to treat you like you were the one trying to pull me out of my marriage.
No.
Right? And so be open with your friends. Listen, I'm not going to tell you to leave because you know if you should leave or not. You know I feel like you should leave. It's an open secret.
No.
right? You know how I feel, but I'm gonna be your friend and I'm gonna listen to you and I'm gonna support you. And the second thing you need to know is when when you're trying to figure out what your role is, ask the person what your role is. Your role is usually to listen
Mm.
and ask them, how can I help you? You know, I don't want to be pushing you one way or another or saying something you feel like you don't need to hear right now. You know, as a friend, what do you need from me? Right? But then the last part of that is, can I do that?
MashaAllah.
Can I watch this person
Go
suffer?
through. Yeah.
And I try to tell friends and family members all the time, you don't have to watch them suffer. You'll want to. But I want to give you permission that when you feel like you hit your limit,
Mm.
there's no sin on you for hitting your limit. You're going to stick by them as long as you can. But when you start feeling like you can't, that's your heart telling you, I can't take no more.
No.
You know what I mean? And that's okay.
No.
That's okay. It's not that you don't love them. It's that it just hurts you so much to watch it. I was just talking to a sister the other day. Her brother had to drag her in, and she's so suicidal, and she has bipolar disorder and anxiety and all of these debilitating emotional and mental health issues, and she refuses to get help. And her whole family is always scrambling and trying to help her and doing everything that they can. And I said to her, "You're making your family. If you were an adult and you didn't have any family and you weren't married and you didn't have kids and you decided that you wanted to sit in the house in the dark and rock yourself to sleep every night crying and anxious and in a fever around all of your struggles, then that's your choice,
Mm. Mm.
right? You can choose to not get help. What you can't do is call your family and make them watch.
Mm.
I said that's where you're wrong. And I want to help you and I want to support you. I want to give you some guidance and advice and all of those things. But just as sure, as your family is sitting here, I'm going to tell you in front of him, you're not going to make him watch, and he has permission to let go if you do that to him.
Mm. Mm.
It might be he might not let you go tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because he loves you. But if he does, don't blame him. You made him sit through a lot. You made all of them sit through a lot.
SubhanAllah.
And she went and did what she does. I just saw the brother the other day. He said, she did the thing that she does.
SubhanAllah.
And so, and they want to help her and they're going to be there for her. Alhamdulillah. We don't give up on people, but we know that sometimes we need some distance for our own health and well-being. I didn't give up on you. I needed to take a step back from me. And so, as a friend, when I need to take a step back, I need to tell you that I need to take a step back. And that's the part of, can I accept this role? When I accepted this role, I really wanted to be there for you. And I still do. Every part of me wants to be here for you.
Mm.
But emotionally, I'm falling apart.
SubhanAllah.
You know what I mean? Watching you go through this is really painful. And so if this is what it's like to watch you go through it, I can only imagine what you're actually going through. You're the one going through it.
Sahih.
That's why you need help, right? And I'm going to do what I feel like you should do. I'm going to step out of this situation for my well-being. And I hope that you can follow my lead. I
MashaAllah.
love you as a friend. You're going to be mad at me and I can take that, but I'm telling you up front why I'm doing what I'm doing so that you have no excuse to tell anybody or to even tell yourself about why I'm doing what I'm doing. And if you want to choose to believe otherwise, you have every right to that. But I'm not going to take responsibility for you choosing not to believe me.
No. No. MashaAllah.
Right? This is the best way that I can put it.
No.
Inshallah.
MashaAllah. One last question for you, inshallah ta'ala, because we're coming up to the hour, inshallah ta'ala, mashallah, barakallahu feek, and we hope that we can continue to have these discussions, inshallah ta'ala, and bring you back on. I know I got other questions for you, but they're on a different topic, inshallah ta'ala, we can come back and deal with those.
Let's talk about something positive too. I feel like when we talk about mental health all the time, we tend to talk about so many terrible things, and there are a lot of bad things to talk about, but there's so much good too that we don't get to talk about. How to positively take advantage. I am so happy with this quarantine. I see so many stories about people suffering and struggling, and I'm having the time of my life. Just to be honest, I'm not bragging. Alhamdulillah. I was telling the brother today, I brought a kite yesterday.
MashaAllah.
Nothing gets more like happy and optimistic and bright and sunny day than a kite. because I'm trying to take advantage of the time and spend time with my family and make time to work. And I got all these projects that I haven't been working on that I can finally work on and be there with my kids and my wife. And but that comes from a determination to make the time count. And I want us to talk about that, right? Bismillah.
No, inshallah ta'ala.
I know you have a last question.
So inshallah, we'll do that inshallah ta'ala. Next session, let's make that a focus, inshallah ta'ala, for the next session, inshallah. Inshallah. My last question, inshallah, for you is in terms, because you had mentioned about, being inclusive as a therapist, right? That the therapist, they should be kind of inclusive to make sure that there's a roundabout healing going on for the person, right? So if there's a nutritionist that needs to be involved, you have to go see the nutritionist or whatever have you. Is there a scenario like for imams? I'm asking as an imam, right? Is there a scenario where if the person doesn't feel comfortable, that the imam says, okay, I can kind of go to the first 2 sessions with you or 3 sessions? Is that permissible? You know what I mean? Within the world of therapy and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Or invite the therapist to the imam's office.
Okay.
Right? You all want to come here, but look, I'm happy to meet with you all, but I want the therapist to sit in with me.
No.
Right? And that's the only condition that I'm going to do with you all.
No.
Right? Because we're so afraid. This is the idea of I don't talk to my kids about suicide because I'm afraid I'm going to make them suicidal.
No.
Right? So I'm afraid to tell this couple or this family that as an imam, I'm not going to see them unless they get more professional help. I'm afraid that something terrible is going to happen. Something terrible has already happened.
Absolutely.
Right? And they're only going to do what they've been doing before your help without your help.
No.
Right? You didn't, by you putting that expectation on them, you didn't force them to go home and start beating on each other.
Absolutely.
They were doing that before you gave them the ultimatum.
No.
Right? A woman, I had to call DIFUS on a family once, and the woman said, if you call, it's going to tear up my family. And I told her, I said, your father is tearing up your family. He's tearing it up. I'm not tearing it up.
No.
He tore it up when he did what he did. He's been doing this forever, and I should have called a long time ago.
No.
I can't not call. I have to call. You know what I mean? I tried to give him a chance to fix it, and he's not fixing it. It's DIFUS didn't tear up your family, right? Your father trying to kill you or kill your mother or kill herself, or your mother trying to kill herself, or whatever it is, whatever is going on, that's tearing up your family. These people are getting involved because they're trying to stop you from succeeding.
No, subhanAllah.
And it's important for us to look at it that way.
No.
Right? People want help on their terms, and sometimes you can't always do that. Could you imagine going for heart surgery and you want it all on your terms?
Yeah. It's not gonna work.
Yeah. I want this color stint in my heart, and that color.
No.
You know what I mean? And so you would be surprised that a lot of people do conform. If we sometimes give them an option. Listen, I'll go to the first couple of appointments with you guys, or I want the therapist to come here, and if you're going to come in to see me, I want him here. That's the only way you can see me. You know what I mean? And people tend to agree.
No.
People tend to agree.
No.
And if they don't, they'll be back.
Yeah, eventually. They do.
Because the situation's not going to get any better. And I try to tell people the situation's not going to get any better. Yeah. And, unless you commit to helping each other, Allah is the changer of hearts. And so it might be that you guys say, well, we don't want to see the imam if we need to see a therapist. So let's get it together so we don't have to go back. That's totally possible. But for the people who don't do that, they'll be back.
No.
And the last piece of advice I'll give, if you're in a relationship that's unhealthy, you get help. Right? If your spouse doesn't want to go, that doesn't mean you can't go. I'll have a mother call me because their son is addicted to drugs. And the son doesn't want to get help. And so I say to the mother, well, sister, do you need help? Just because you're not coming doesn't mean that I can't talk to you.
No.
You know what I mean? And sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no.
Sorry.
But you need help just as much as the person who needs help. You're struggling too, dealing with them. or watching them suffer, or afraid every night you're never going to see them again,
No.
or just being overwhelmed with trying to help them. Right? I had a mother of a child with special needs, and she wanted help for her child. And I said, well, I want to help your child, but I want to help you too. And she burst into tears
SubhanAllah.
because she
SubhanAllah.
didn't ever think of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. You're always trying to find help for the other person, and you're not really thinking about yourself in that entire process.
Yeah.
And at times, it's kind of the whole. I always call it the whole oxygen mask thing, right? When you put on your oxygen mask first before you can put on somebody else's, right? You have to breathe, and you have to be able to take care of you first, inshallah, to be able to help someone else. You can't fall apart in that process. SubhanAllah.
They need you to take care of yourself.
No.
You can't help me unless you're well.
No. SubhanAllah. Inshallah, let's end with 3 positive notes, inshallah.
Yes.
What can you give us, inshallah ta'ala? 3 things that can be easy to do, inshallah ta'ala, to build love between the spouses and their at home, inshallah ta'ala. 3 things that they can work on, inshallah ta'ala, that may not be too difficult, that they can kind of use as practical steps, inshallah ta'ala, to start building some love in their relationship and changing the relationship around.
Go home and sit with your children or sit with your spouse and say, I want us to be better, and I'm committed to it. Let's come up with a roadmap together, and let's commit to it. Right? Every day we're going to work toward it, and we're going to do specific things. Don't just say, treat me nice. Right? That's not specific enough. When you come home, give me salam, give me a kiss, give me a hug. Tell me I look nice. Tell me I look beautiful. When I fix something in the house, tell me I did a great job. You know what I mean? When the kids are fed or put to sleep well, you know what I mean? Tell me I did a great job. Whatever it is. Dress up nice for me when I come home. Right? I mean, well, when you come home. I know for myself, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he got home, that's when he put on really nice clothing. And he perfumed himself and he did all those things. Let's go out of our way for each other. Especially during the quarantine, so that it becomes a habit, like during Ramadan, we're supposed to be doing our ibadat that we want to become habits throughout the year to come.
No.
Use the quarantine now to develop new good habits.
No.
In our relationships.
Yeah, I always tell people stop walking around in your old jammies with your hair sticking out like this, and you know what I mean, looking all funky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My wife had to stop me the other day. She was like getting ready to throw something. I was like, no, I'm gonna keep that. That's like my walking around. It was something like all torn up and nasty. And she looked at me like, I don't want to see you walking around in that.
MashaAllah.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. But it's comfortable for me. I like to knock around. And so what I've been doing, I wear clothes a lot lately. But in the house, I've been wearing, khakis and a belt. You know what I mean? I have shoes that I wear in the house that are new. I never wore them outside. You know what I mean? So I look like Big Night in the house.
Keep it jiggy in the house.
She's so happy. She's so happy. Alhamdulillah. You know what I mean? Like so doing those things, compete with each other in your relationship to make each other happy in a healthy way. The Sahaba used to compete in giving sadaqah. Compete with each other. I want to see the smile on her face. She don't know the thing I'm gonna do tonight. You know what I mean? That's gonna make her so happy when she sees it. He don't know the thing that I'm gonna do tonight that's gonna make him so happy when he sees it, or whatever it is that we can do that we know that the other person needs from us and wants from us and really appreciates from us. Commit to doing it, right, with each other. And the second thing I'll say is tell your spouse that you're gonna commit to being patient with them. I know for me that's music to my ears. I imagine it'll be music to my wife's ears, right?
I know mine as well. I'm a submit.
Baby, I know that you don't always do it on purpose, and I know that you're trying, to stop doing whatever the thing is that I'm always going crazy about. And you know what? I'm gonna try to make it easy on you. I'm a commit to being more patient with you while you're trying to make that change. You know what I mean? And when you find me not being patient, remind me that I'm trying to be patient so that I can correct myself in the moment. You know what I mean? Like we want to give each other that mercy. My wife, she says, mawadda is the love and affection when times are good. It's easy to be all over each other, huggy and kissy, all that kind of stuff. But she says the rahmah is when things are bad. And we forget to be merciful toward each other in the tough times because we feel like the other person doesn't deserve the mercy. And to remember, we want Allah to forgive us ألا تحبون أن يغفر الله لكم
No. No.
أن يغفر أن يغفر الله لكم, right? That do you not love that Allah would forgive you?
No.
And so this is one thing to understand. Just as much as when you make a mistake, you would love to be forgiven, your spouse loves to be forgiven. And when you make a mistake, you didn't do it on purpose. They probably didn't do it on purpose either. You're not the only one who makes mistakes unintentionally, and then everyone else does them intentionally. And then the third thing that I would say is try to spend more quality time with each other instead of just being around each other.
Okay.
Right? Two different things. Right? Sometimes we're just in a house and we're kind of sharing space with each other, and we're not being intentional about the time that we're spending. Right?
Mhm.
I'm not the best husband in the world, and I try to give personal examples because I'm trying to be real and try to make it relatable.
Alhamdulillah.
And I feel like I give a lot of good personal examples. The next talk can be all of my bad personal examples, right? But our power went out in my neighborhood last night.
Subhanallah.
And so, alhamdulillah, I had this portable battery. You've seen the big battery.
Yeah.
So, alhamdulillah, it was fully charged. We plugged the light into it. My wife plugged the TV into it and let the kids watch TV, and they were happy and all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't a problem. And the one thing I thought to myself is when the kids go to bed, I'll go buy some candles, and we can do a little candlelight, me and my wife together. You know what I mean? We'll take advantage of the opportunity. And so, the power cut back on, so I was out. I didn't have to do the candlelight thing.
You could have shut the lights off, shaking the house. Come on, man.
Nah, come on, girl. I said, "Oh, Allah didn't want it for you." No.
It's part of your decree.
Called it Allah, mashallah. No, alhamdulillah. I said, no. Tomorrow we're gonna do it right. Now we have time. We can prepare. The idea was in my head today. Power's back on. All right, but tomorrow I can really, you know what I mean? And so, like, doing those kinds of things with each other, sitting down and reading with each other. Ramadan is coming up, and so I want to talk to my wife. There's no way I'm coming to the masjid for Taraweeh. My wife is not going to let me.
No.
She wants to do Taraweeh in the house, and so I want to sit down with her and say, how do you want to do Taraweeh? How much do you want to do? How much time? How much you want to read every night? What's in your mind? I'm not reading a Jews every night, right? Like, no one in any masjid, even in the best of times in the summer, is not reading a Jews every night. Maybe, but what do you have in mind? So I can start getting ready and preparing myself. I have to read all of this Quran for the month of Ramadan. Maybe what's on your mind? Let's sit down and game plan with each other, right? Those are the kinds of things. Let's try to work more cooperatively as a team and spend more time that's intentional with each other. Binillah. I know I stretch it out, and I apologize, but I just wanted
mashallah.
Encouragement as I can. And do nice stuff with the kids.
No. Yeah, because honestly, this is the time also, man, that the parents kind of get overly frustrated with the kids as well. But because the kids are frustrated because they can't go out. You know what I mean?
And so talk to the kids. One of the solutions that we've come up with, I exercise in the house, and the kids are fascinated with exercise. So the tendency is don't work out because the kids are going to be in the way. But actually what I found is that my kids, they're interested. And so they'll sit on the floor and do their little kid push-ups too.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's not always as bad. Amu Abu Sumayya, alhamdulillah, he gave me 2 power wheels for my kids.
Mashallah.
And so we let the kids drive up and down the block with them. You know what I mean? And we go to the park in the morning when there's nobody in the park, and we let them feed the geese, and we, buy $1 loaf of bread and let them feed the geese. I bought the kite. We're going to let them fly the kite and just give them some time to get some fresh air and try to be patient with their meltdowns. They're struggling, especially the kids that are in school that have to do schoolwork.
No.
And they have to teach themselves. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
They have to teach themselves, and they have to get it all right. And this is a whole new environment. Your kids just stepped into college.
No.
Basically.
No. Sahih.
They just stepped in, this is college for them.
Yeah. Having to be self-disciplined and all that other stuff that they don't have. Yeah.
So let's try to be patient with our kids. And that was one of the points, alhamdulillah, that I wanted to make about the domestic violence. try not to be too harsh on your kids. You know, they're struggling just like you are, and they're adjusting just like you are, and they're going to follow your lead. As parents, don't react with too much anger and frustration.
No,
Try to sit down with them. You know what I mean? And hear them out and try to come up with solutions that they can enjoy.
mashallah, mashallah.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair.
Dr. Brock, alhamdulillah, it is always a pleasure, akhi. Wallahi, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always keep you in his favor.
Ameen.
Ameen. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to continue to be able to build and to continue to be able to do this, inshallah ta'ala. Honestly, I miss it, alhamdulillah. I miss our sessions, alhamdulillah. And I think they're needed, alhamdulillah, especially during this time, inshallah ta'ala. So, alhamdulillah. So, I'm going to be reaching back out to you again. I know we're all busy, inshallah, but definitely I'm going to hit you up and see if we can go ahead and continue doing this, especially because we got Ramadan coming, and I feel that we need to prep for Ramadan, inshallah ta'ala, and be ready for it, inshallah ta'ala.
Very much so. Very much so.
MashaAllah.
All right, Jazakallah.
Barakallahu. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, as we have mentioned, Jazakallah khair for being present with us, inshallah ta'ala, today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you all. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to benefit you, to continue to bless you. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if you are having troubles in your home, that He help to rectify whatever the issues are, inshallah ta'ala. We ask you, oh Allah, allow us to implement the advice that Dr. Brock, he gave us during this wonderful speech and during this wonderful talk, alhamdulillah. And you know best what the best of it is, inshallah ta'ala. Oh Allah, allow us to adhere to that knowledge, adhere to those teachings, and benefit from them, inshallah ta'ala, within our families. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you to protect our families during this time of COVID-19. And we ask you to heal those who are sick with a complete, perfect healing that leaves behind no illness and no sickness, no trace of illness or sickness. And for those who have passed away, like always, we ask for them the highest reward, to be a martyr and to enter the highest part of paradise without any questioning and without any reckoning, inshallah ta'ala. If you have any questions, brothers and sisters, inshallah ta'ala, regarding this segment, please feel free to send them to me privately, because I know sometimes people don't want to post things up because it may be personal. You can send them to me privately, inshallah ta'ala. If you feel that something else needs to be addressed that we haven't been able to address, inshallah ta'ala, that should require some, giving it some importance, inshallah, and we need to speak about that, especially openly and in public, so that, inshallah, others can benefit from it. Please also send those topics my way, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll continue to try to benefit and have these sessions with Dr. Brock Murray. And also, we plan to have these in Spanish, inshallah ta'ala, with some other psychologists, inshallah ta'ala, who, mashallah, speak the Spanish language. So again, jazakumullahu khairan, wa barakallahu fikum, wassalamu alaikum, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.